I, 22 female, am a senior in college and have been planning a summer trip to Europe with my friends for about a year now. We've all worked hard to save up enough money to go, and we're due to leave in about a week. We each invested $3,000 plus into this trip, which is supposed to last 2 weeks. My sister Grace, fake name, is currently in 8th grade. Her middle school graduation was supposed to be in a few days, but because of scheduling errors with the high school football stadium, it was recently pushed to a week after I was due to leave for Europe. Thus, I wouldn't be able to attend. This really saddened me because I wanted to be there for my sister's milestones. Still, I've already invested a lot of money into this trip. It's too late to back out because we're already past the refund deadline for most expenses. Additionally, I've been looking forward to this trip for so long, and it's the last chance I'll have to spend time with my friends before we all go our separate ways for post-grad jobs. I explained this situation to my parents and Grace, and I thought they'd understand, but they were all furious at me and wanted me to cancel my trip. My parents are accusing me of prioritizing my friends over family and not caring about my sister. They keep saying that if I go to Europe, I'll traumatize Grace because her big sister won't be there for her big day. My dad even said that I could always go to Europe later, but my sister will only graduate from middle school once. Grace cried over the phone to me and said I obviously don't love her. I felt absolutely terrible, and I kept apologizing over and over, but they wouldn't hear any of it. I promised to treat Grace to a celebratory dinner when I got back, but they wouldn't accept that as a compromise. Am I in the wrong here? I don't want to cancel because $3,000 is not a small amount for me. I might reconsider if this was Grace's high school or college graduation. Still, there will be other graduations besides middle school. I'd also reconsider canceling if I got the date wrong, but the date was switched, and I couldn't have foreseen it. But I'd still like to know if I'm the idiot. Edit for context. My parents immigrated from a pretty poor country, and they had to drop out before 8th grade. So it means a lot to them to see their kids graduate middle school, but I still don't want to throw away $3,000. Not the idiot. She's graduating from 8th grade, not medical school. Why is this even a thing? Come on now. Enjoy your trip. Your sister shouldn't grow up thinking the world revolves around her and that people will drop everything and prioritize her over plans they've already made. Also, are your parents always this manipulative? Oh God, no. Middle school graduation? Give me a break. The trip is a once-in-a-lifetime trip for the OP. It's worth more than just the money. After college, everyone gets jobs with varying amounts of vacation, so there's very little chance her friends will travel like this again. To me, that's worth way more than $3,000, and I'm in my 30s. I've traveled alone a lot and with past boyfriends, but I really wish I'd gotten to experience a trip with my friends like that. Now we're all way too busy to do something like that. Sure, middle school graduation is technically also once in a lifetime, but I don't even remember mine. It's not even close to worth it. Why is this even a thing? It's an attempt to get parents involved with their children's educations. It is painfully stupid because everyone graduates from 4th grade or 8th grade or whatever. Pre-K gets a pass because that mess is adorable. The date was changed, and that's unfortunate, but unfortunate and disappointing. Unfortunately, things happen in life, and everyone needs to learn to just deal with them, including your young teen sister. OP, people who would manipulate a young teen into thinking this is a tragedy, so she cries to you and says that you don't love her, are not people I'd be taking orders from. They're really blowing this thing up out of proportion. Go on your trip, and girl, have fun. Life gets busy as you get older. Take Grace out to lunch to celebrate and be done with it. This is such a lot of drama over nothing. Aisle 48 male start by saying that my son Peter, 25, has a big heart. He always has. It's gotten him into trouble quite a few times. A little over a year ago, he met June, 23. She was 12 weeks pregnant at the time. Father nowhere in sight. Peter and June moved really fast. She was living with him just 4 months later. He told me that he was going to help her with the baby, which I was on the fence about as they had just met. But I also figured it wasn't my business, and it's honorable of him to want to help his girlfriend with her baby. June had a baby girl, Cadence, a few months ago. Peter has been heavily involved in her life. Recently, he proposed to June. We went to their place to celebrate the big news. That's when my wife asked if Peter had plans to adopt Cadence. June and Peter avoided the subject, and my wife let it drop, figuring it may be tricky, especially if Cadence's bio dad didn't want to relinquish rights. Later on, after Cadence was put to bed, June and Peter admitted that he wouldn't have to adopt Cadence as he's on the birth certificate. I asked, wasn't that fraud? He said after speaking to a lawyer, there was no legal repercussions, even if it made it to court. Their reasoning for doing this is Peter will have an equal say in Cadence's life. If for whatever reason they broke up, he'd get custody. I instantly thought he'd be on the hook for child support, but I stayed quiet. My wife asked if they planned on telling Cadence the truth, and they said yes, it won't be a secret. The bio dad is also aware and doesn't care, as he has no desire to be a dad. I don't think June's trying to get money out of him. She actually comes from a wealthier family and works for her dad's company. I genuinely believe they just love each other, but to me, this is a recipe for disaster. I tried to let it go. Then Peter stopped by the house for something, and we talked about Cadence. Peter called her his daughter, and I said that I was glad he loved her, but his signing the birth certificate was a huge mistake. I pointed out all the things that could go wrong. He said he doesn't care and wants to do right by his girls. He called me unsupportive and told me to get on board, or I won't get to be in my granddaughter's life. I love my granddaughter. Blood doesn't matter. She's family. But I still think this is a mistake. Am I the idiot for voicing that? You are the idiot. So you're okay with him adopting her, thus having the birth certificate changed, then, but not from the jump, when he's been in her life from pre-birth? None of that makes sense. He's going to still be on the hook for child support if he adopts her. You need to realize this is his family, not some money-making scheme. This is immediately what came to my mind too. Doesn't matter if he signs the birth certificate right away or adopts it later. The potential for having to pay child support down the road would still be the same. OP, now that you've said your piece and he's heard you, you need to drop it. You'll be an idiot if you don't get on board. Your son is an adult. He's made an adult decision. If there are consequences, he'll deal with them. And he doesn't need you nagging him about negative hypotheticals as he's trying to start his family. It will only drive a wedge between you and him. Not the idiot. They barely knew each other and got married really quick. This is an objectively stupid thing to do. You have a legit concern. Your son doesn't quite understand the full picture. He's doing something he feels is right and is a great gesture, not really understanding the full legal repercussions. Yeah, I'm kind of getting the son is being used vibes. What stable, together mother has someone sign her kid's birth certificate that she's known for 6 months, thus tethering them all together indefinitely? That's a desperation or con move, not an I'm genuinely in love move. Good luck to them all. Oh God, she doesn't want her family to know who the father is. She's letting them think it's OP's son. I bet that's it. If your son can't deal with you voicing a fairly reasonable thought and concern about his life without threatening to cut you off, he shouldn't be signing up to be a dad of a kid who isn't actually his. Clearly way too immature. Long story short, my younger sister, Christy, was with a horrible guy, John, throughout college and ended up getting pregnant with my niece, Sarah. John was honestly the mascot for a deadbeat dad. He wasn't there for any of the pregnancy, and Christy could only get child support from him. She even offered to give up asking for child support if John would just come and see Sarah, but he refused. I think he only ever saw his daughter a handful of times. The most unforgiving thing, in my opinion, was when Christy got ill and passed soon after that. John never came to see Christy once in the hospital or went to the funeral. After she passed, he asked my parents to take care of Sarah, and only then did he start paying a small amount. Although I wasn't Sarah's legal guardian, I did a lot to care for her and saw her as my daughter. One thing I had promised her was to pay for a senior trip. So everything was on track until I found out that Sarah wanted to go and visit her dad with the money that I had saved for her senior trip. I can admit that I'm biased, but I was horrified. I told Sarah that although I disagreed with her seeing John, I wouldn't stop her from meeting with him. That being said, though, I would not fund or facilitate that meeting, and if she wanted to see him so badly, she'd have to do it on her own, or John could pay for her ticket if he cared so much. My intention for the senior trip fund was for her to do something fun with her girlfriends and to enjoy being young, not to bridge a meeting between her and a man that caused a lot of devastation for my family. Sarah's really upset, though, and said that it wasn't fair for my gift to come with strings attached. I told her this was bigger than that. Plus, like I said, I'm not saying she's not allowed to meet her dad. I agreed to pay for a Cancun trip, not a meet and greet with the man. Plus, if he wanted to see her so badly, he could cough up the dough himself, but he's refusing to pay a cent. I can tell Sarah's bent up about it, but I think it's the best. But I can tell this is affecting our relationship, so am I the idiot? Edit. Cancun is something she and her friends plan to do for themselves. Her friends are still going to Cancun, which is also why I don't want to give her the money to see her dad. Ahem. Cancun? With her friends? That's more than a lot of people get. And she's being ungrateful? You are not the idiot. You promised to fund a specific planned trip, not making an open invitation to fund travel. Do not fund a trip to see a deadbeat. If she wants to see him, she can try to organize it and pressure him to show initiative too. Considering your past with this man, you're right to not to want to contribute to this. Hopefully, his refusal to even try to meet her halfway will be enough to demonstrate exactly why she shouldn't be wasting effort or money on trying to build that relationship. I agree. OP is not the idiot. The deadbeat dad is. However, I would ask OP to sit down with their niece and discuss this with her. There might be unresolved emotions or feelings on her end. Her bio dad abandoned her, and her bio mom passed away. She might just need to close a chapter in her life or figure things out herself. And perhaps being there to support her would be better than making her face these feelings alone. Before I get attacked, I'm not defending the bio dad. I'm just concerned about her reasoning for wanting to see him, and the fact that OP might not have given her a chance to explain her motivations. Instead, OP shut it down without having a proper two-way conversation. My teen male interest is in medicine, and my dad's a doctor too, so I have a bit of a good background. One of my classmates, let's call her Sarah, is irresponsible and tries to throw all the hard work to others by lying and saying that she's sick and that her seizures are not controlled, etc. Today we had a task-based subject where students were required to work together to solve specific questions. Sarah was on my team, and when I told her to solve Q4 through Q15, she suddenly started convulsing. I knew it was a psychogenic one, and she made it up because her eyes were closed. Also, her movements weren't synchronous. I tried to open her eyes during the seizure, and she was closing them forcefully. After a couple of minutes, she woke up, and I told everyone in the class that it was not a real seizure, and she was doing it for attention and escaping the dirty work. Also, I elaborated to everyone why it's not a real one based on the previous symptoms. Plus, when she woke up, she got angry that I tried to open her eyes, and I told her that proves my point because in real seizures, her consciousness would be impaired and she wouldn't know what I did. A couple of my friends stood by my side to expose her. Some told me I was an idiot for saying she was faking it without apparent evidence. Am I the idiot? Edit. The teacher was holding her head so it didn't hit the ground, and I told her that my dad's a doctor and I know how to help someone with a seizure, and she told me to help her while she sent another student to the principal for help. My dad was a cop, so I feel like arresting you for pulling that BS. Sorry, kid, but your dad being a doctor doesn't mean you have a bit of a good background. LOL. You're a teenager. You are the idiot, by the way. Don't touch people. Once again, you are not a doctor. Agree. So what did you achieve? Embarrassing a girl so you could feel superior? And what right did you have to touch her? Leave people alone. You're not a medical professional, no matter what you want to be when you grow up. Please mind your own business. Exactly. When he grows up, hit the nail on the head. Kids gotta stop trying to be adults, or this crap happens. OP has enraged me with his arrogance and ignorance. I have family members with PNES, and it's clear from this story that OP knows absolutely zero about the subject. That poor girl will now be treated like a liar, which could make her seizures more frequent and intense. I, 29 male, will soon marry my fiance, 29 female. She's Korean and originally came to my current country as a student. I grew up in Korea, but my family moved here when I was 15. We met in school and both did similar degrees, which shared a lot of courses. So I decided to make a wedding invitation website and put a lot of effort into making it special. I'm a front-end web developer these days, so I wanted to make something nice. Since I was the one who proposed, I wrote a small story about how we met and key events in our relationship and wanted to write it in a humorous way. This was for a Korean audience, since most of our family is Korean. Also, our wedding will be in Korea, so the form of humor is a little self-deprecating. The story talks about things that Korean elders value, like education, etc. A very small part of the story, like less than 15%, poked fun in a lighthearted way about how I stayed with her despite her bad driving, and how I didn't leave and was loyal even though she took longer to graduate due to withdrawing from courses and failing some classes. I also wrote stuff about myself, like how I liked her, but it took me months to ask her out, and how I'd already prepared myself to cope with rejection and thought that she was out of my league. Also, how without her, I would never be able to cook anything besides instant ramen, etc. She was supposed to see the website as a surprise, and I sent out emails with the links, and there was a copy of invitation cards and the story attached to the email. When my fiance saw it, though, she got upset and said that I shouldn't have put the part about her driving and taking longer to graduate. I thought it was not such a big deal, though I agreed to remove it from the website, although the original version was already sent in the email. Her family obviously knows she took longer to graduate, and she pokes fun about it herself sometimes, like how she feels lucky to get her current job despite that, etc. However, she's not done badly at school overall or anything, and it's not like she struggled to graduate. She was just one semester behind. Her parents agree with me and think she's overreacting and that it's not such a big deal. And most of the families on my side, except for my sister and one of her sisters. Am I the idiot here? I put in a lot of effort to write it, and I felt like it was well done for a Korean audience, and it's not like I wrote it exclusively to make fun of her. You are the idiot. Why would you send a story highlighting that it took her longer to graduate, particularly to an East Asian audience? Even in Western culture, where education is taken less seriously, you'd be the ass. It feels like a weirdly strange power move, and you contextualized yourself in your story as you still stayed with her. Despite it, I'm reasonably certain it was. Also, many Koreans see studying abroad as a failed move for those who didn't do well enough to get into the right university at home. If these guys met at Harvard, then all good, nice flex. But she's probably got some sneering about that going on in the background, even without the fail, haha. And yeah, no Korean aunt has ever not enjoyed having ammunition to use on younger family members who can't talk back to them. Dude, your cultural background is irrelevant. In all cultures, if you do something that hurts the person you love, your romantic partner, and you choose not to apologize and instead double down that their hurt is an overreaction, then you're the idiot.